But that is not a growth of the country. You can't have a localized area. Pandit Nehru never thought on this. That's why he put the steel plants everywhere. And power plants, Bhakra he made in Punjab, steel plant in Bhilai, Rourkela, everywhere. So that there's a everywhere growth. But somewhere after that, the socialist pattern came and all the policies, and then of course the current breed of the politicians is different, and so are the NGOs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arora sir. Give a nice insight to the situation. In fact, I would say we will go, because the entire discussion, as he rightly said, that we had a series of seminars. We have discussed the Ultra Mega as well. We have discussed in our forums almost all the power plant, but this still remains one of my favorite and pet subjects. Because I would say, if you look at almost a 50-50 situation can emerge. Because I'll give you an example of Mumbai. When you talk of a peak load for a city like Mumbai, then I think it has several peaks in the day. It has no more a single peak, you know. Like for example, from morning to evening, if you look at one shift, it is the industrial, it is the colleges and schools, you've got the restaurants roughly come at 11 o'clock, then you get most of the domestic housing load of electricity goes away, but all the commercial load is on. You know, that is one type of peak. Then let us say, when you go towards a situation of a 5 p.m., you know, you see many industries who ran on one shift are gone. But the growth of the call center and the PPOs and KPOs have resulted in the peak shift again, because they are started working. In the daytime, in the night, it's like a 24/7 situation. The entertainment and nightlife, because any city like Mumbai, more youngsters are coming up and growing, we see, and they are earning money, they will definitely spend. So amount of entertainment, restaurants, joints, the 5-star hotels, you know, the way it is going, is seeing another big shift of use of electricity. So your use of electricity pattern is changing, and throughout the day you have different times of peaks. And so this type of power can be not supplied by coal-based power. This is not possible, and I think it is foolish to have the Jharkhands and the Orissas supplying the coal, because 60% to बीच में ही चोरी हो जाएगा. कोयला पहुंचेगा नहीं, 40% कोयला आपके पास पहुंचेगा. And the other thing is, if we think, okay, the solution is high voltage transmission lines, and through HVDC we will link this, fine, it will come up to my point, but afterwards I will steal it right at the in situ, you know, when it comes into my home, you know, because we still know that if you see even for a very efficient state, I would say much better efficient state like Maharashtra in electricity distribution, the amount of power loss today on the average is still not less than 27%. There are excellent circles, then there are horrific circles. I can show you feeders in Maharashtra where 60% of the power is not billed. That is, transmission and distribution losses have to be recorded as theft and dacoity losses. That is even in our state. And if in the case of, I don't have to mention, but if you go to Bihar, the UPs and several parts in Haryana, then you have extraordinary losses in some feeders. In some feeders, I have information that 80% of the power is not recovered for at all. So there has to be some other model to handle this. So in that sense, I feel in urban areas where definitely it will come to a point where affordability will come into picture. Because today, I tell you, most of us in Mumbai and Mumbai metropolitan region are paying exorbitant price for our electricity. My office is in the suburb, because my office is not in a Pedder Road or a Walkeshwar. My office is in Dombivli. My office pays 9 rupees 25 paisa per unit I pay for my commercial electricity. At my home, the bill is 6 rupees 25 paisa. Because I do have one AC. I don't have AC in all my rooms, surely. But surely I have to run one AC. At least, not throughout the day, but at least for the night. So the temperatures are better for a place like Mumbai. But when you compare that kind of base, we roughly get about 400, 500 units plus, you know, in a month, you know. So if that is the kind of consumption that is happening, and that we are ready to pay. And I tell you, I am lucky because I bought my flat long time back. But in current scenario, most of the places where cooperative societies have come up, the maintenance costs and charges are close to, in many societies, $5,000, and your diesel power is camouflaged in the maintenance expenses. And that diesel power cost is not less than 18 rupees a unit. So you are already paying through your nose. And then why don't you accept solar and gas? Gas at 9 rupees is okay. It is economical. Right? Yeah. If it will be made available. I tell you, that is another topic. I tell you, see, this country can get LNG as much as you want. 2 days back, I was at a CII forum. In fact, I invited the Minister of Natural Resources of Canada was addressing at the Taj Ballroom. I tell you, it was the most stupid meeting I have ever attended in my life as a journalist. I had to attack all of them. It was as if none of them had nothing in their box at the top. This is CII. And I had told them openly that day, because I was the only journalist who went there. The meeting was some private meeting going on. And he said, I want to sell gas to India. I want to sell this. I want to sell nuclear fuel. I asked the minister only one question. How would he get gas to our country? And that minister had no answer. That day I realized that all our parliamentarians are more intelligent than these guys. You know, the minister, I wanted to click him. He never picked his head up. He was down. And all the pictures have his head down, reading. And when I wanted to question him, 3 CII chaps and 2 Canadian fellows ensured that there is no further questioning between me and him. Right? This is the type of situation. And this is CII calling for a meeting. So I would be very happy. I'm very happy that we run a cottage media, I call ourselves. Inertia is a cottage media. And we have the daring to call him. Because I called the minister and told him. And finally he says, Professor, I could not understand your question because I do not understand decentralized power. I'm explaining to this forum. This is meeting, and I told him you must come to my forum on 12th and not to this one. And now he's going on a nice energy trip all across the country. Not one protocol officer from either the government or the opposition was available with him. Not one fellow from the Department of Maharashtra was with him. And the Minister of Canada of Natural Resources is roaming around having a picnic in India. Can you imagine? This is the situation. This is the situation of this country. And this is what we're doing. It is Mickey Mouse business, I call it, clandestine. आ रहे हैं अंदर से घूम रहे हैं जा रहे हैं फ्लाइटें आ रही हैं पब्लिक उसमें लोड हो रही है इसको this is called the mafia. You know, it will never succeed. This mafia will never succeed. Have you come to vend? It is like the earlier East India Company taking a bag and parcel and going around and scouting India. 300 साल घुमा and now I will catch hold of something. But this is a new India. इसमें ये नहीं हो सकता. You know, I am very clear that I'm sorry, I'm saying this. Without the politicians, you will not make any progress. So please engage with them. My point is very clear. There are good politicians, there are bad politicians. There are good teachers, there are bad teachers. There are good journalists, there are bad journalists. There are good human beings, there are bad human beings. So if the bad is there and you want to multiply and see only, then that is something like the old saying says, everything looks yellow to a jaundiced eye. So let us not go in that mood. Let us be in a positive mood. Let us take what Krishna Sahib has said today, that keep the positivity. Gas prices are going to be affordable. We are not saying that it will be dirt cheap, like you can just get it without any cost. No, that's not going to happen. You have to pay a price. And we have to move positively towards decentralized and distributed power. And it is a definite answer for our urban crisis. I have a lot of constructors and builders here. I can assure you that some of the members of my panel are so excellent that they can give you a self-contained solution where you can have smart meters within your system and you can supply with a very good trust. With if municipalities help us, we can take the distribution sub-license. They can be the distribution licensees, sub-licensees, and there is no need for us to be terrorized about power non-availability. And this is the answer, and Mumbai can do it first. So let's come together. And let us make Maharashtra the first state which has no power cuts. Because Gujarat says no power cuts. But I am telling you there is power cuts. Ketal will also agree. It is all this, see, going from the top of the roof and saying we don't have power cuts is very dangerous. That is not going to happen because many corners in Gujarat do not still have power. But Gujarat is definitely a good state. See, they have the gas grid. Like the electricity grid is all around, The gas grid is gone throughout the state, but gas to Hain, and it was very funny. So the Gujarat High Court said that all of Gujarat will have to convert all its vehicles from petrol to gas. So may I request Mr. Partha Paul from Vatsalya to tell us about his views.
Thank you, Professor Iyer, giving this opportunity to discuss something very innovative, something very encouraging, and which will be, I guess, will be acceptable by all. Since morning we have been hearing such lively discussions, presentations from the August gathering out here, discussions happening among the people who have been listening to us. And I thought of bringing up certain points. I guess the recapitulation of the morning session, that would be better actually, to give some kind of base for us to deliver upon in future. Professor Iyer did discuss about the resource efficiency, utilization of the efficiently whatever the resource available with us. That resource availability could be on both front, in terms of the energy as well as whatever the investment that we are making. So it is important. We did talk about, Arora ji talked about integrated approach to give a solution to the power crisis, whatever we have today. In spite of putting up ultra mega projects, in spite of going for baseload generations, the people of India at the various corners, they have not been getting power. Why that is happening? There are corners where is surplus power. For example, Gujarat, today about 6,000 megawatt of installed capacity not being dispatched because hardly any takers outside the territory of Gujarat. If you go to the website of Gujarat Distribution Company, you'll get that 500 megawatt is ready to be available on the RTC basis, but there are no takers across the border. There are scarcity happening in Rajasthan, there is scarcity in Punjab and other locations, but that power is not dispatchable. It will be important equally to invest into the resources, invest into the infrastructure to make the power available to everybody. What about the 24/7 obligations that we had talked about in the electricity plan? In fact, the government of India did talk about 24/7 power to everybody by 2012. What about that plan? Is it really happening? Why it is not happening? So what are the means available with us to ensure that at least not, if not today, in the next 3, 4, 5 years timeline, people of India do get power? 24/7, if that is not possible, it is 20/7 to ensure that kind of an availability. Mr. Patkar did refer to the blackout conditions, what has happened in the very recent past actually, and that had reminded us, in spite of having the best technology, in spite of going for the most efficient of the plants, that will not immune us from this kind of fallouts. That will not immune us from not having power at certain exigencies. So what are the options available with us, where we should be concentrating to make us immune against those kind of exigencies? Krishna Sahab did mention about gas as a resource. It is very heartening to understand and listen to him that yes, in the future, today the constraints are there, the prices are high, so people are a little worried about what if I go for a gas-based distribution generation system and it doesn't work because of the high cost of gas. Let me tell you, the cost of gas is high, the cost of power working out to be high. But what is high in terms of the power, in terms of the reliable power which is available? We had spoken about Maharashtra, spoken about Mumbai, 9 rupees 50 paisa commercial tariff, 6 rupees 25 paisa residential tariff. Is not that high. See, if that is not high, then why a gas-based power of 30 rupees per SMQ of gas, 28 rupees per SMQ of gas, $16 per MMBTU, how come that is becoming costly for anybody's understanding? It is actually not. So quickly, I'm taking you through that to my presentations. In fact, very limited time is available. I'll just show you how the distributed generation could actually help you and increase the efficiency in spite of having 24/7 power within say Mumbai, and the costly power because of the reliability. You are supposed to pay that high cost tariff. So the same kind of a reliability is still possible with us with this kind of a distributed generations. How it is possible? Let's just go through this. I guess the friends there from the developers fraternity, from the commercial space developer, the infrastructure developers, it will be a subject of interest to them. Power with a limited load variation, that's the kind of requirement in any ultra mega space, ultra mega commercial establishments will have. The comfort cooling requirement will be there, but there will be variations, 20% to 100%, depending on the season, depending on the time of the day. for example, a mall of 1 million square feet, those are power guzzlers sitting inside the city limits, they're consuming power. So if those power guzzlers, those power units or utilities can be separated off from the grid, I guess the efficiency of the grid and the reliability of the grid for the other domestic users, the other users in the market who are not ready to pay, or rather who can't really afford 9 rupees power, can be made available at a lesser cost. So how that is possible? If you talk about a 1 million square feet mall area requiring about 5 to 7 megawatt of power, comfort cooling anywhere up to 5,000 TR. You are also requiring reliability, so you put up a 1+1 kind of gas plus diesel generator as a backup. So it is there, the solution is there. Redundancy is being made through backup diesel generator sets, but that is also not a cheap mean. You also need a compact layout. So how to ensure all of this? The conventional solution, as I have just spoken about, the main source of power is a state utility, 9 rupees of power. The most of the time you will be having power since you are sitting in the city like Mumbai, the reliability is there, but 9 rupees is still costly. Then you will be going for a backup diesel generator as a redundancy. The concept solution, what I am proposing out here is a gas-based distributed generation plant, a dedicated captive power plant for those power utilities. Power from multiple engine solutions at site, redundancy built-in engine configurations. That redundancy could be possible in terms of the multi-fuel capability of the machines. Free comfort cooling coming from the heat recovery, which saves you the energy intake, and top-up chilling requirement through the electrical chillers. Now, quickly talk about the availability of fuel. If you talk about any such installation coming outside the city limit, for example, data center coming somewhere across the national highway, anywhere. The data centers are possible anywhere actually, on the main national highway or maybe in the remote locations today. You can always go for a furnace oil as an applications. You can also go for natural gas. The price, of course, ranging in the range of 28 rupees, 30 rupees per SM cube today, but going to go down, as you have heard the other speakers telling that. Diesel, of course, the conventional method of generating power is diesel. So these are the means available for the distributed generations. And mind you, even at that price, if you talk about the efficiency close to about 85%, the cost of power will not be costlier than what you have been paying in Mumbai or other cities today. We had spoken about the resource utilizations. Now, talk about investing into such captive power projects. It will be very important to note that the heat recovery mechanism, normally what people go through to increase the efficiency, might not actually be a very efficient solution when you talk about the ups and downs in the requirements happening, ups and downs in the chilling loads, which would be coming in. For example, air conditioning need of this kind of hotels will not remain same across the seasons. So how to address that? Because that investment, what you make in the chillers, probably will be a bad investment in the coming days, because 6 months time of the year probably will not be using those chillers fully. So to optimally use those resources, you need to invest intelligently. What kind of infrastructure that you need to build up. We did a quick case study. In fact, this was done a couple of years back, and we take 2 cases wherein 10,000 kilowatt of power and 4,500 tons of refrigeration was required in one such kind of a mall. The second case was exactly the double the power requirement, about 2 million square feet of development happening. Now, if you look at the electrical load, that probably remains flat across 12 hours almost a day. But after say midnight, probably the load requirements will go down. Similar is the case for the tons of refrigerations in the air conditioning load, which is that variation on the air conditioning side will be even steeper. It will be requiring somewhere between 50% to 70% to 100%. This will vary at the time of the day and the season of the year. So if you look at normal developments like this, an infrastructure like a data center, infrastructure like a mall or a commercial space, we're just trying to put it in the time of the day. Probably it will not be visible from that back, but what we have tried to do in the time of the day on the x-axis and the seasons of the year in the y-axis, and try to plot it. What is if we design something based upon the requirement, the designer requirement will be very limited. In fact, it will be coming only say 14% of the time of the year. Now that 10,000 kilowatt hour years of chilling was utilized 14% of the time. So balance of the time you are not utilizing whatever you have invested in. So is it justified? So what kind of investment that you have to make, that has to make sense to you at the end of the day? The solution what you had proposed, in fact looking into the gas availability scenario, there was constraint. The price was varying too much. In fact, this give kind of an immunity. If at all, if as a developer, if you don't want to depend on the gas, because the gas supplies will then probably tighten the screw and increase the price, and availability will be constrained. So to immune yourself from that kind of the variations, what you could do is actually look into the dual fuel as an option. So dual fuel machines are very proven. It has been operating all across the globe for various applications. So in both the cases, actually, we have tried to analyze with our solution whatever we have with the dual fuel mechanism and with the heat recovery and the screw chillers, so that your asset utilization gets maximum. So in the first case, we were getting about 83% utilization of the asset. The PLF was very high. In spaces, if you are ready to invest into smaller engines, that's fine. The smaller engines are capable also ramping up very fast. The bigger machines are also there, which will save you on the efficiency front. Which will also save you on the horizontal spaces. So bigger development, for example, airport, for example, data centers, which are very power intensive, you can actually do into larger standby machines on diesels. So let's keep on that part, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Partha, for that wonderful presentation. See, what he has brought out is that it is possible to use the combined heat and power, basically usage across urban centers, data centers, the examples that were given. And you know, this is predominantly our development on the urban side, you know. Most of the cities, and now it is not just the Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata scenario. It is the B towns and the J towns, I call it. The B towns and J towns, Jaipur is also as ambitious as Mumbai, you know, or Delhi. So we will see the pressure of urbanization coming throughout India. And in fact, there is a paper by the Dr. Kirit committee also, you know, I think he mentioned in this Integrated Energy Policy report, how a lot of this semi-rural India, you know, would also look at the nature will be urbanization. They may not urbanize in the typical sense, but use of energy and resources will increase. Quality of life will increase. You know, you can see that in some corners, definitely inside Maharashtra, you can see some wealthy situations. You go down to Kolhapur, go to Kagal, go to these places, you find they're far cleaner than Mumbai, I can tell you. They look far better. Sometimes I feel Mumbai is more dirty than these locations. You know, I see the development is more planned. The roads are more wider. You know, there's no, you know, there's a joke, you know, sometimes Mumbai and in some other cities as well, after rains, especially Mumbai, looks like we've gone to the moon. Unless we repair it. Now we have to build all the roads. That's the situation. So the scene is that urban centers have no choice. In fact, Navi Mumbai, for me, needs its own power plant. For me, Kalyan and that region needs its own power plant to save itself. I feel Thana, the biggest district of India, needs its own power plant. Why it should depend on Mumbai? And it was very funny. Again, I go back to that CII meet. I asked one of the guys who came and said, Professor, you're right. Then I said, okay, you're more worried about the electricity coming to Mumbai. He said, yes. I said, which Mumbai? South Mumbai? That was it. That has 30 lakh population, that's it. But the entire Mumbai metropolitan region is 2.5 crores, 25 million people. One of the strongest cities in the world. And when I graphically took it, we are at that level that we are competing with Rio de Janeiro in the population index, Seoul, Tokyo, and this Mumbai. And Delhi is probably in between. You can just have one more city and then immediately Delhi comes in. You know, there will be a Bangkok and then Delhi. You know, that's the kind of situation, you know. So, 2 of our cities are already in the top 10 brackets, and the third one is also coming slowly, which I believe both Chennai and Kolkata are competing to be there. And Hyderabad will not be far behind after 3 years, because the radius expansion of Hyderabad is a 58-kilometer radius expansion. You know, and it has got space to do that. So when we see this kind of city emergence in the country, you know, Bangalore has already done that. You know, it has gone up to the tip, Hosur, which is Tamil Nadu is the one side of the border, and we're seeing this happening, you know. So if we feel that we have nothing to do with these cities, then we are doomed. We need to build the infrastructure of these cities and pump them with the requirements of energy in a most efficient way. So with that, I feel there is a good opportunity for constructors and builder. Today we have some excellent people here. We have Mr. Satish Oak, who is a very eminent architect in Mumbai. Please give him a big hand. Who is attending this seminar. And thanks to Patkar sir that he got us. And Rahul Panvelkar ji, can I see him? Yeah, young man and a very, very renowned builder in the suburbs, and also, I think Pune also you are there, right? And Marathon Builders, we have two representatives, one of the topmost builders of Mumbai. We definitely have our friend from Niranjan Hirandani's office, Mr. Gajra, Bipin Gajra. Please give him a big hand. And Ishwarbhai Patel, yeah, is another builder. So I'm very happy to see this community. You know, we were the only forum which was making an attempt to get the constructors and builders together, because at the end of the day, we don't have our one more friend Ashwin Idar here. I went to his apartment in Greater Noida, and it is the builder and the apartment owners have such an equation that now for the 8 or 10 hours they don't have electricity at that end. The builder has given them a 10 rupees tariff. Of course, he does not have gas, he is running across diesel. And he has put up meters, smart meters, and he's going to supply to the department, and it is no force. Whoever wants to get that supply will be ensured supply is given. On a monthly deposit only for that period, for a certain demand that they're going to commit, that they're going to consume so much. Now this is the type of model, and more of these kind of models will come up all around the country, because as we see, it is not possible for the grid to catch up. We have not been catching up in the last 3-5 year plans. In fact, the total gigawatt shortfall which I wrote to the government of India when the former minister was there in the chair, and he had deep trouble because of my letters, was that we have underperformed the last 7 or 8 years like anything, and lost out on 80 gigawatt. When the government was tom-tomming that they have added 55 gigawatt in this particular plan, it was an eyewash, because the shortfall was so high that we have actually not added a total of 80 gigawatt, and the peak deficits are in excess of 50 gigawatt. Today also we go with reports which say we have a shortfall of 13.5%. And then that completely stupid failed idea which is still there on the Ministry of Power website if you open today morning also. Power for all by 2012. What a joke. Now they have changed that. They say now power for all household by some many years. That is the theme of Bhutan and not of India. I have nothing against Bhutan, they were clever. They knew they could not give power for all. So about 2008, they declared we'll go to every household. So now we are borrowing it from them to save, right? Save our souls, I don't know. So there is no solution. The large power capacity is not going to come, my friends. The next step would be to look at electricity. He is the best guy to look at integration because he's already done the first thing. So it is an integrated model. It is energy, water and resources. And when you say green building, I tell you people are giving lip service to green building. I told you about BIPV. How many builders are deploying building integrated photovoltaic in the construction plan? How many architect friends of ours? Today Oak Saab is there. I would convince him. I have got the idea of the design. I'll give him free of charge. Let him build that building, model building. Let us go to the government of Maharashtra. Tell them to approve this.
Our concept of the green building is put on paper green.
Right, that's all.
Put a catalog of green. That's
Absolutely.
all.
That is green building.
It's not like that right now.
नहीं अभी तो यही चल रहा है आपके साथ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं in general बोल रहा हूँ I'm not talking to the people there maybe 10% people are doing 90% of the builders are not bothered I tell you and if what we have to do is we have to bring this meeting as he rightly said we have to bring the meeting up so that we bring more number of your community into it let them make them understand and Chhattisgarh का मैंने जो बताया आपको Chhattisgarh में they increase the price of the flats 15% for solar rooftops. People are paying very happily. Because the promise that they gave is 24/7 lighting. not electricity. 24 घंटे बत्ती होगी. अब 24 घंटे बत्ती होगी वो सोलर से तो आएगी ना, अगर आपने रूफटॉप पे लगा दिया.
Yes, there are certain builders in North India, UP especially. They had put up colonies and apartments, but they were not getting the licensed power connection. So they were running total time on DG sets, which is not good. I mean, when you make a flat, you're thinking temporary 10 rupees, 11 rupees, but not for years together. And the government did not give the license because they didn't have the infrastructure to provide that power. Now, the decentralized can take that place. So you avoid that infrastructure of transmission distribution, this can happen.
Okay, I'll give you one more answer. We are working with a company in Noida. Who wants to set up a 25 megawatt decentralized power station just for this reason.
Correct.
Okay, and that is a combination of various types of fuels.
That's right.
Because in
Multi-fuel.
Yeah, multi-fuel.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that multi-fuel, they will generate power plus heat, whatever they have. They will utilize for chilling purposes for nearby malls. They will utilize cooling also effect for food processing industry and all that. So it's a combination of everything.
Right.
Now when it will come into reality, God only knows, but at least it is coming.
Concept is already there. We have with us also Mr. Dinkar Samani. May I welcome him that he's today joined us. He's a
One, we are seeing 21st July blackout, which is the biggest blackout in the country. You can say it's treated as one of the biggest in the world, in fact. Why it happened? Everybody knows the reasons. We know where exactly is the problem coming up. And here comes the requirement of decentralized power generation, which is required when you are getting more urbanized specifically. As he has pointed out, somebody is coming in Noida, 25 megawatt power plant. It's very interesting. If anybody is traveling through the expressway of Greater Noida, and if you see the amount of construction of buildings coming up, how are you going to give power to these buildings? Today, without those buildings still in operation, we don't have power for 8 hours at least in a day. And today, if all these have to be commissioned, all these flats come into operation, what is going to happen? In addition to that, right in the middle of Noida, we are going to have huge complexes coming from waves. Where is the power going to come for these things? And UP government on the power connections, they are saying for the last few days, whenever somebody questions them, there is a problem with the substation. We are constructing a substation which is having some problems. And I don't know when the substation is going to be completed for the Noida power supply conditions. Under these circumstances, what is required for the organized cities is basically a decentralized power generation, which need to be a combination of resources. It's not only gas. Gas is one major thing. Plus you must have solar. Solar is plenty. And the roof solar is one of the major things which needs to become as a law. Unless you make a law, pardon all the developers who are here, the developers will not take things seriously unless there is a law on certain issues. Today, let us give an example of rain harvesting. It happens in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Why? There is a law, so people have to do it. Whereas in other parts of the country it is not there, so it doesn't happen. That means you need a basic policy requirement for this type of decentralized power supply to build up in India as an alternate to the development of this country. Of course, the gas-based CHPs are one of the major things because of the PL writings which is coming up. And gas allocation is one area where Mr. Krishna has pointed out very correctly. And that's where a lobbying, I'll use the word lobbying with the government, it may not be a bad word, we were discussing yesterday. You have to lobby with the government to get gas allocated for this distributed power supplies. And it is a must. We discussed, okay, let's call it policy advocacy instead of lobbying.
I say instead of lobbying, why not look at policy advocacy?
let's look at the policy advocacy of the government for this particular aspect. This is, and this is, I think, one of the major things which has to come out of this seminar. Okay. So that's one of the, I think, it has to come out as a point from this seminar, which has to go to the government. This has to come, the gas allocation for these things. See, urbanization is going now no more to metropolitan cities. We have type 2 and type 3 cities. That's what most of the developers call in their terminology. If you go, the construction departments call it as type 2 and type 3 cities. And these cities have to develop. Its requirement is, I think, decentralized power supply is the best solution for them. We need centralized power supply coming out from coal, thermal, hydro, and those power supplies has to go for the basically industrial, this one. And the decentralized power supply should be to the urbanized population who are able to pay the cost of the power generation. It has to be actual cost of power generation. It need not be a subsidized power generation, which you are giving today to farmers. Free of cost, or some states are giving a subsidized power, which is making all the discoms debted and fully. So that needs a little change, where people can afford a decentralized power cost, as Dr. Khanna pointed out. Quality power comes at a cost, it doesn't come cheap. We must realize that very clearly, and the man who can buy a flat 1 crore or 80 lakhs, I think he can pay for the power supply, because I know Gurgaon diesel power supply is charging 40 rupees per unit. So if they are able to pay it, I think this is one of the major policy decisions which needs to be taken by the government, which needs to be put in place. So the rain harvesting, decentralized power supply, where you have multi-story buildings coming up or a big mall coming up, they have to have their own power generation instead of depending on the power coming from the centralized power generation. I think this is one of the major policy advocacy which has to be done with the government, which has to be talked at all levels, wherever forms we have to talk it up, and we have to bring it, that part of this very clearly. The Indian grid definitely, immediately cannot take the complete load what is coming up, which we are seeing it. On urbanized places, you can see the problems today, what is happening. I am living in Noida for the last 16 years. When we started, there's a lot of power problems. I was there from 1995. And I think Arora Sahib is much before me, he was in Noida. Initial stages, for the first 2-3 years, we had a problem. The next 5-6 years, there was no problem in the power. After that, when the more development in Noida started, the problem started up. It's again, I'll say, the failure of transmission and distribution there. We do not have a proper substations in Noida which can take the complete load of Noida. These are the plannings which fail. That means you don't have a long-term vision in terms of what is required for the country or what is required for a particular state. So these various basic problem comes up. And it's not only gas-based. Another thing is we talked about biomass, which we talked about Jabalpur, which is working. And this is, I believe, biomass projects are going to come up. Unfortunately, some of the biomass projects which have come up in South, they are not working. And with that, many people said biomass will not work. But this project in Jabalpur is a good example where biomass projects can run. And there are people, young people, entrepreneurs. I have seen people about 29, 30 years age. 4 of them are putting up in Jalandhar a 10 megawatt, 2.5 megawatt project, cordon based, next to a dairy farm where they have got all the cows, whatever is required for the milk, and they've tied it up and they got signed the PPA also with the PEDA, and they got at the price of 6.25 rupees per unit. Of course, they're looking for the funding of the project right now. So many people are aware of the biomass projects and what benefited from it is. So people are looking at this as not a good alternative. As again, sometimes it will be distributed, sometimes it will go to grid, whatever way it comes it out. And the power sector, basically, we have a lot of discussion about nuclear, hydro getting stopped. Yes, one of the projects which I got from my earlier company, that is a project which has been awarded. So I have to answer my management at that time also when the project has been awarded. So that's, we can talk about this NTPC Lower Nakpala project, which has been stopped by one single individual, who is also incidentally was an engineer. That's a very funny one. And power sector suffers because of non-communication. I'll put it, communication of and transparency of benefits of each type of power sector. That's where the activists become more aggressive. And the power sector, the engineers are not able to communicate with the stakeholders the benefits and bring it a convincing conditions so that the projects can move in. This is, I think, partly failure of the power engineers in this country. They were never transparent, and even today, some of the things are never transparent in their sites also. This is one of the major things which I feel the communication is very, very important. That's where the power sector engineers lack the tactics, rather how to handle the situation, and that's where the hesitations come up and the projects are getting suffered. You see, we are saying hydro one project is abandoned, but at the same time, in the private sector, I'll give you the example of Kachamampu project. They had problems, but they have commissioned the project 4 months ahead of the time. It's 4 into 250 megawatt, 1000 megawatt. But after commissioning that project, they are not following it up any other hydro project. That's an irony again. So these are the various issues which need to be addressed. I think professors' forums are more discussions, debating, which happens in these forums. And this forum, through this forum, these communications have to go in a bigger way. And the activists also should understand why a particular type of fuel is coming up, what is needed for the country. And everybody likes the mother earth. Nobody denies it. It's a balancing act which we have to do it. And everybody has to do it, and I think it will happen. And I hope with this we can convince policy advocacy for the decentralized power generation, keeping in mind various policy options which are required. Thank you very much.
So, but I want Kulkarni. We have another very good architect friend of mine here. Please give a big hand. May I request Sachin Kulkarni to come over here and just take our 3 or 4 minutes with his views as an architect, what we should do for the city. I'm now completely focused on the decentralized distributed power for urban estates. So I want his views now here.
Leader is on the dais and off the dais. I don't take a name. Thank you very much, Professor, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity. See, basically the idea is that urban areas should be separated from the grid system and should have an independent and decentralized power supply so as to reduce the losses and transportation of the power which we are taking from long towards the cities. But the restriction is that now cities are developing, urbanization is very heavy, and as far as Maharashtra is concerned, urbanization is, I think, most of the urban in Maharashtra. In India, Maharashtra is getting urbanized very fast. So, to control this or to have a power supply independently or indigenously to these urban areas, I have in mind that what we are observing, because I am practicing in Navi Mumbai. See, there is a city, Mumbai. Then there are other cities are developing around Mumbai. You will be surprised that Mumbai and around Mumbai, there are 6 municipal corporations. It is heavy. And around these municipal corporations, again, villages are coming up, and they are coming up like small cities again. And we are giving them permission like anything. No infrastructure, no sewage system, no water supply system, nothing is there. And how they are going to provide the power. Today itself we are getting the power at around 9 rupees unit. After 5-10 years when these cities and these metro cities, then surrounding cities, Then again surrounding villages and coming up, growing up at small towns. How the power cost will be around 20 rupees per unit. And that cannot be afforded, and it is very difficult to supply. So I have marked one system that can be incorporated in white paper. At first, immediately we cannot have independent power supply to existing urban areas. But the towns which are coming up away from the cities, it should be made compulsory to those towns and those townships that they should have their independent power supply, gas-based power supply. Now we are working on the gas, the seminar is on gas. So gas has already come to Mumbai and surrounding areas. So that gas power supply stations should be compulsory to these municipal authorities or these townships. So Marathon is developing near Panvel, I think. So these type of township, Hiranandan is developing township near Rasayani. So at least these townships should have independent power supply and their independent stations. And this can have a composite supply, not necessarily entirely on the gas. They can have solar, they can have gas, they can have biogas. If it's the Rasayani, there are small villages are around, so they can have biogas also. So that way, the implementation should be in the stage wise. The first is that independent and power supply for these townships. Then the next stage will be these small towns. See, in Panvel and around Panvel, again small towns, small villages are going up, coming up like urban areas. So these authorities should have that town, if they want to develop or there is development is going on, urban, see, you can say the building constructions are going on, it is going up like a town. So that authority should be funded to have an independent power supply. Then only that town should be, that village should be permitted to have a development. Then the next stage will be the cities around Mumbai. Because I am taking the example of Mumbai because we are here. So around Mumbai we have Thane, Kalyan, Mira Bhayandar, Ulhasnagar, Navi Mumbai. These are the municipal corporations. So let them make compulsory for these municipal corporations surrounding to have an independent and decentralized power system with composite supply. What we can say, solar power or gas power or biogas power. Then we can enter in the city. The city is Mumbai, so we can have commercial buildings first, then residential buildings, then new coming up projects. That way we can develop it like that. So this is the basic idea, and this should be incorporated. Can it be incorporated in white paper? Yeah. So it will be a part of white paper, and we should make a compulsory that law can be enforced. Mr. Mukti has said the law is required unless there is a law for this development, because we don't have town planning. Town planning of our country is very poor. It is beyond your imagination. There is no town planning at all. Everywhere you go, there is no planning. So before going ahead with the development and all these things, we must have this power supply system, rainwater harvesting system, all these things. We are working on that. I am a consultant for Kharghar Gram Panchayat. We are going ahead in the Kharghar, because still Kharghar has got a Gram Panchayat. Though it is a part of Navi Mumbai, it has got a Gram Panchayat. I am consultant for that. So we are going ahead with the most eco-friendly Gram Panchayat. We are putting up solar lights in the Gram Panchayat area. Kharghar Gram Panchayat has got some Adivasi wadis on the hill. So that Adivasi wadis, we are making it independent from the grid. We are making wind power and solar power, and we are proposing it for that. Then Kharghar will have primary schools with rainwater harvesting, with solar power, most eco-friendly primary schools in Kharghar. That way we are going out. But it should have been at a larger scale. It should have been at a government stage, and government should make it compulsory, or rather make a law that unless if there is any development coming up around the metro cities and beyond metro cities, or small villages are coming up, then there should be independent and you can say decentralized power supply for that society, that the villages, towns and metros. And this can be in the phase manner, which I have already told. It can be a phase manner and it is possible. So thank you very much, Professor, giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
With that idea from an architect, I thought that would be very apt to end, but this is just the beginning of our discussion. We can continue to debate. Our entire plan is self-contained smart townships, Self-contained smart townships would be the future concept. We are talking of smart cities. The first smart city concept in India is at Puducherry, which is the erstwhile Pondicherry. And that is predominantly, it has been taken as a power project, but it is not a power project. I have been telling the Power Grid and others, when you talk of a smart city, you're talking of developing a smart interface. So what all flows into this smart city? You have so many things flowing. Water, sewage. If you use gas, it means gas for city gas distribution, LPG. You see all these things are flowing. Electricity, so many things are flowing. So you need to smartly manage, efficiently manage all these resource, their input, their utilization, and definitely supply and exchange demand. Because it's exchanges, somebody is providing the service, somebody is taking currency for the exchange. And all this must be done responsibly. So in India, we'll have to integrate, rightly said by Arora ji and others, that we need to develop an integrated model than having the entire integrated. So an integrated idea, I would say assimilation also. So I think with this, I request Hetal Mehta to wind up for the day.
Thank you, Professor. Friends, this morning we are hearing about distribution power, decentralized power, various thoughts, various ideas. Lot many things have been discussed. And I am witnessed in almost all the seminars of professors that he always write a lunchtime around 1:30, but it has never happened. The debates are always going on. Many things we have talked, all the speakers have talked, spoke very well on the different way, different topics, but you can say the concept was the same. Distribution, power generation. Professor was talking about the Surat and Gujarat. See, Gujarat, what we were talking is today is in a surplus power, but still power failure is there. It's not the power cut, it's the power failure because of the system mechanism. Power is there, but then grid is not that quality. Then feeders are not of that quality, so failure is always there. You are talking about the Surat Municipal Corporation. Then in 2007, Surat Municipal Corporation started with the sewage-based power plant. That was 4 megawatt they started, first model. Then they multiplied with 3. Today they are with a 12 megawatt. And they are coming up with the 20 megawatt of the solid waste. They have already given the contract to some German companies, and they are coming up with this. So these are the things going on everywhere, like the things are going on. But when we are talking whole country, you rightly said 30 gigawatt is a shortfall in the country. 80 gigawatt is a shortfall in the country. So we mean to say that all 80 gigawatt shortfall are in the dark. They might be generating power some or other source, diesel gensets. Each and every house in Delhi or Noida is there. At what cost they are generating the power?
Then there are kerosene lamps burning all across the rural economy.
Yeah.
Huge amount of kerosene is being burned.
If you will consider this, then the diesel gensets in Delhi or Noida or whatever place the power cut or power is not there, it might be costing you 20 rupees per unit. But still it is affordable for some people. But while generation what we are talking, we are not able to do it. See, distribution power, that's why it's very, very important. What is available, where, use it. Gas, you are talking. Gujarat is the gas capital of country, and where I am in Surat is the gas capital of Gujarat. We have, I can say in my house, the gas pipeline is since 1984. I have never seen the gas bottle since last 30 years in my house. or our NCT, you might be witnessing. We have almost 62 gas stations in the city. Our all petrol vehicles are converted in the gas. My car I converted in 1999 on the gas. So resource is available, it is there. But rightly said by Krishnan, availability of gas. I can give you one more example. 450 dyeing house, processing house are there in Surat, was converted gas-based, gas-fired boiler in 2006-7, where the gas was somewhere around 11 rupees per meter cube. And today, industry they are giving 42 rupees. 42 rupees. How the dyeing house processing people will run their boiler with this rate? So again, all the boilers have been closed down with the gas and they have shifted to the coal fired. So availability is one part, price is second part. If resource is available with us, definitely distribution power generation is best choice for the country. Because it reduces all our transmission loss, distribution loss, and whatever time I want, I will get it. Because it can be the best situation power for as a peakers. Friends, all the speakers has spoken very well. Krishna ji, Ram Bhatkar ji, then Dr. Khanna has given very, very good idea about the German policies. How the policy has been implemented in Germans regarding distribution power. So, I think I am in between lunch. So, Professor, let me thank all of these eminent speakers, as well as I think we should have a good clap for the professor for giving this fantastic forum on this platform. All the forums he is doing very, very well. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, all the guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friends.